And Bernardo Perez is pitting. Is it a pitting again or no? It's his first pit, and that's the last person who needs to pit.
Okay, so we are back live, I believe, everyone. I'm sorry I don't have chat opened, but I've been told by one of the admins that we are alive. So we apologize. The other host had his PC crash, and unfortunately he cannot get back in. So welcome. This is Racebug, and of course we are still with Mako. In lap 15 out of 22 of this Belgium Grand Prix, just trying to take a look at the position change as Bernardo has gotten himself, I'm sorry if that's not the complete name, he's lagged somehow, he's back down to P16, I thought he was leading there for a moment. Everyone has stopped, I believe they are taking either the mediums or the hards until the end of the Grand Prix. So just need confirmation in terms of the game as the drivers are going to start finishing up this second sector. The times between each other are going to start showing up. So we have Jarno Opnier still leading in the Mercedes with Romanidis in P2 for the Williams in Famous and Shadow, two names that I do know quite well in the Renault. A nice partnership there, follow in P3 and P4, Ace for the Red Bull in P5. Unfortunately, the game hasn't told me yet how quick, how close they are to each other as we start this lap number 19. Weigang is right on the back of this group from P6 to P4, and there's a bit of a gap between Famous and then Romanidis and Opmeer as the Williams is going to try surely to line up the Mercedes for an overtaking attempt down the Camel straight into the turn 7, 8 and 9 of Lecombe. Let's see, easy overtake with the DRS. Let's see how close can Romanidis get himself, Opmeer, how close can he follow now through this middle part of the track, as he's going to follow nicely, trying to keep himself in contention. In terms of the group from P6 to P4, nothing changed apart from Ace getting past Shadow. Also we have Photon and Karganov having a bit of a blow, the two Italian branded machines, with Photon taking advantage that time around. We also have Fabrizio Donoso was caught up to the pair right in front. So looks like Donoso hasn't had the greatest of days today. Kruzix is 4 seconds behind. Also at the back there's Bernardo and Michael getting quite close to each other, but that's something we're going to follow if any movements happen. Oh, Donoso getting a great move on Karganov coming out of, I forgot actually the name of the corner, coming out of 2-0 and gets him done. Beautiful maneuver there to get himself to P11. Is going to try to catch up to Photon, trying to get himself in the podium paying, not the podium, but the points paying positions. In the meantime, Maku, do you have anything noteworthy?
No, not really, except things you said. But I can tell you that, for example, we had Speedberry again in pole position after qualifying, and Fabrizio Donoso was second. But we had a short safety car, and most of the people stopped, but Speedberry and Fabrizio Donoso didn't. So maybe it's a little bit an unfortunate stop of Fabrizio Donoso who caused him to be that far down the grid. But I think some of the front row drivers may need to stop again because they're now on 14 laps old mediums.
Oh, well, in the meantime, Shadow has gotten himself passed by Simon Weigang, so Shadow's starting to drop down a little bit. He has 14 laps on those mediums, so maybe the hards of the McLaren are starting to come into effect as they have, of course, a longer lifespan. So at this point I would guess that those hards are less worn out than those tires marked in yellow, and Weigang is going to try to get himself further up into the top 5. He's hunting down Ace at this point. Shadow is struggling with the amount of battery charge on his machine, so he's not really able to go aggressive at this time. He really needs to keep up with the other drivers in the top 5 in order to be able to recharge once he gets into the DRS zones. For the time being, Weigang has over 63% of the battery charge. Ace also with a bit of difficulties, is kind of in the same boat as the Renault of Shadow, so Weigang is surely going to put some pressure on the Red Bull driver. Back at the front, Romanidis got himself a bit of a gap to Opmeer. He got himself a bit of a gap in the past lap. Opmeer wasn't able to overtake right away, but making the comparison, yeah, they are quite similar in terms of ERS charge, so it's not really a disadvantage in terms of that for any one of these drivers. 5 laps to go. Jarno might just try to save a little bit, just try to force Romanidis to deploy a bit more of ERS to defend, or maybe he's just trying to take it all, put all the chips on the table for the last 2 laps of the Grand Prix. For the time being, he keeps the distance to the leader of the Grand Prix as Ace is demoted back down to P5. He got himself to move on Shadow, but now it's Weigang who's making a bit of a charge as of late, and he puts himself 2 positions up in 2 laps, and now it's Infamous is next target, who's also struggling with the ERS. Simon looks like he had a strategical mastermind approach to this race, and those sets of odds really benefited him. Mako, in the meantime, we have a battle for the last few spots of the top 10. What do you see?
Yeah, I think Cutsford was it or something was overtaking Foden again. And yeah, we're also Fabrizio Donoso now in 11th, but I think he's also fighting for positions, and I think he of course wants to get up the leaderboard again, especially because in front of him the driver will get the 1 point, and he wants at least that 1 point, if not more.
Yeah, Kardanov is trying to look into points finish possibility. Of course, he's on the outside of that battle, a couple meters further away from Donoso than Donoso is from the next couple cars in front. Photon is getting heavily pressurized. You can see Donoso is almost pushing the Ferrari up the road on that transition into the last chicane of the Grand Prix. Moving back to the front, Opmeer, he keeps himself in the RS range, just never close enough to make a move stick. Weigang is going for sure pull the trigger on that 3rd place occupied by Infamous. Easy maneuver as he gets himself up to a P3. So great job from him to get himself in the podium spots. Infamous drops down to P4. Shadow drops down another place in the meantime as he's demoted to P7. Speed Barry moves himself a place, so Shadow is really going backwards at this point of the race. Looking further back, Donoso keeps piling up the pressure on Photon and Calcifer. Those two are really close to each other as Calcifer is trying his best to get himself up to Zones. Zones has found a bit of a cushion, as of course Calcifer is closer to Photon than he is to the Haas, so the Haas has a bit of breathing room. Photon, hopefully for the Haas driver, Photon is able to challenge the Alfa Romeo, and that keeps him busy, allowing Zones to keep his 8th place, or at least keep enough margin to hold on to that 8th place until the end of the Grand Prix. Speed Buddy is also on a surge, rather, as he is on his 8th lap of those mediums. Not sure if Buddy and Ace are communicating with each other, but possibly we could have a swap between the Red Bull drivers as Buddy is pushing fastest lap of the Grand Prix, 1:45.2 for him, and as you can see Ace there, a bit of compromised line. I would rather if he just lift off on the straight as opposed to going wide into turn 1, but I guess that's their decision to make. Nonetheless, Speed Barry is now having the green card or the green light to push as hard as he can to get himself into the battle for the top 3. Weigang gets moving past, Infamous moves past Weigang, so Infamous, despite having a bit of difficulties managing his energy recovery system, is not really going to give up on it. Calcifer moves on Zones, Mako.
Yeah, he had a little bit of a went a little bit tight into the corner, nearly cut the track limits, but he got it around the inside, was a little bit pushed by Zones, but yeah, that's how racing works. So he's now in front, is now in 8th place, And now the other drivers, Foden and Fabrizio Lenoso and Arsene Karanov too, I think, will try to attack zones, who is on hards, and the other drivers are on mediums, so they should be a little faster.
Yeah, well, let's see how that one develops. Of course, those guys are rear diffuser to front wing, 5 of them, so this is certainly going to be, at the very least, an interesting affair, an interesting state of racing to follow until the end of the Grand Prix. Of course, the drivers can still make mistakes, because of course there's immense pressure in this group. Those drivers are no slouches whatsoever. So let's see how that one goes. Donoso is still trying to look himself past the closest rivals. Not much luck in that department so far. The drivers in front are pretty competent themselves, and they are holding their own quite well at the moment. It's Calcifer who has the advantage of that group. Jumping back to the battle for the lead, Okmir maintaining those 6/10 of a disadvantage. Weigang is going to sail himself past Infamous once again. Speed Body keeps on closing in. He already pulled 1.5 seconds on his own teammate, to then is 2 seconds away from Shadow, who's really struggling at this point. Speed Body, the fastest man on track at the moment, I would say. Photon goes on a move. Oh, there's a collision with Donoso. He's in the wall. The Mercedes is in the wall. That's so unfortunate for him, as he was trying, I'm guessing, of course, he was trying to make a bit of a recovery, and is now disqualified for being in the wrong way when he wasn't actually moving the car. Even so, they're just adding insults to injury there for the Mercedes driver, who has his race finish early. Kardanov benefits with that, as now Photon lost a tremendous amount of time to the cars ahead. He might even lose enough range to get into DRS, and Kardanov might take advantage of that to slingshot himself past the Ferrari. Looks like Photon had to push, as he's now has a 6/10 gap to zones, which is going to decrease because the Yaz just made a mistake into Stavelos, number 15, corner number 15, right before the end of the second sector. So things have normalized a little bit in this group after that bit of chaos. Jumping back to the front, 2 laps to go. It's Opmir versus Romanidis. Let's see how that one goes. Of course, these two have known each other quite well, have raced against each other for a long time now. Let's see how that one goes. Opmir is finally going to get DRS. He's been closer than in the previous 3-4 laps. So let's see if he finally pulls the trigger. He's going for it. Mozero DRS is going to back off. He just wants to make sure. Very calculated race from the Mercedes driver. He just wants to make sure he's close enough for the last lap for him to be able to pull the trigger down the Camel Straight. Romanidis, of course, is now lacking himself a little bit in the battery charge compared to the Mercedes. Oh, a mistake there, losing the rear in the transition between turns 10 and 11. Of course, Romanidis having quick enough reflexes to keep the car under control, but those mediums are certainly giving him some difficulties at the moment. Of course, Opmir is in the same boat, 19 lap olds mediums for both of them. Weigang is on 19 lap old hards, and Infamous is on the same set of tires, as, are in the same conditions as the top two, so he can't do much at this point. Speed Barry is gaining time, and Overfist already half a second separating him from the Renault. He's surely going to try to make a move at the next opportunity. Let's see how that one goes. For now, jumping into the lead, Opmir still pressurizing Romanidis, half a second separating them as they come out of the bus stop chicane. Last lap, ladies and gentlemen, let's see how it goes. Will Opmir be able to get a good enough exit to slingshot himself past the Williams? Will Romanidis get a good enough exit off the uphill section of Radion, or Eau Rouge and Radion, to then propel himself to the end of the Camel Straight, still ahead? Let's see how that one goes. Mode 4 of DRS for both of them. Jarno is going to have DRS wide open. DRS wide open. The slipstream as well is going to get alongside. Can Romanidis answer? Maybe a bit of late breaking into Lecombe. He knows this is last ditch effort. Can't quite make it stick. There was contact. The car got loose. He had to back off. Opmir, a very calculated, very intelligent race, and it's pretty set in stone, I would say, unless there is a mistake. Jarno Opmeer is on his way to take the win of the Grand Prix. Of course, everything can happen. The most challenging corner of the circuit is coming right up. Turn number 12, Puhon gets himself on the curb, can be slippery at times. He keeps the car stable through there, is now getting himself down through the last few corners, looking further back into the top 5. Speed Barry continues pressurizing in Famous. He couldn't quite make a move stick into the Camel Straight at the beginning of this lap. Let's see how that one goes. Romanidis has lost out a couple of meters. 8-10 separates the two of them. Opmeer is pushing to his tires content, I would say, at this point as they get themselves through the last few corners. And I would say Romanidis has no chance unless the Mercedes driver just makes any sort of mistake. There you have it. Jarno Opmeer is going to cross over the line to take on the win of the Belgium Grand Prix. Romanidis P2, Weigang P3, Speed Barry gets the move on in Famous. I believe that's actually due to penalties. Yes, Speed Barry and Ace get both passed in Famous. The Renault drivers who were at one point P3 and P4 in the last 7 laps, they've dropped down to P6 and P7. Calcifer ahead of Photon in P9. Kurdanov gets himself P10. Zones got himself a bit of a bottle job, if I can say that. He was in 8th place with 3 laps to go, finds himself outside of the points. Mako, that was certainly a very intense last couple laps. Well, what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, that was very interesting, especially because I told in the stream at the beginning, I said that we could have this move, this last lap move on the Camel Straight from the second to overtake the first, because that's a very interesting and a very good strategy as staying behind the first and overtaking last lap, because you can be overtaken there nearly every time and you can switch around nearly every time. And yeah, do you want to do post-race interviews?
Yeah, you can, well, I'm going to try to get in chat, but this time I would let you, since you have more information from the race, I would prefer if you did the interviews.
Yeah.
Chat. I need to go to like Steam's friends.
No, we go. I think we're going here to have it on Discord.
Oh, okay. So it's on Discord.
Should be easier, yeah.
Oh yeah, if you could invite them, yeah, that would be nice. So just making this a little bit of a waiting time, as there you have it. We had Infamous, in fact, he did get a 3-second time penalty. Only driver in the top 10, exactly, only driver in the top 10 to get penalty zones. Looks like he only got outside of the points because of penalty. Kardanov managed to get himself the last of the points paying position. I do believe Bernardo, despite going on the softs at the end, he wasn't able to get the fastest lap. That's for Tunisia, I believe. Just trying to make sure that information is correct. Yeah, I believe the Italian driver got himself a 45.1, which ended up being the fastest lap. But since he's not in the top 10, that means that no point is going to be awarded to our drivers. In the meantime, Mako, are you having success get drivers?
Yeah, R7 just asked, and yeah, we'll just need to wait for the drivers to confirm that I want to do the interview. So yeah.
So in the meantime, just going to take a look at chat. I had to go on my phone and take a look at chat. So just checking what people have said about the race. By the way, I do recognize a fellow Portuguese fellow in chat, Rabassa. Boas, tudo bem, Rabassa? É o Ruben. Yeah, just letting him know, in case he didn't notice who I am. I don't even know if he's in chat still, but whatever. We don't have really any noteworthy remarks, I would say, at this point. So Yeah, it was a shame for the Nozo to get so far into the race just to finish it early, and then on top of that, getting disqualified was really um, really sad to
Yeah,
see. Especially because that was shaping up to be a five-way battle that was going to be
yeah.
really entertaining.
But Denoso, it wasn't. Denoso wasn't the one who finished, who qualified third or fourth. I think I said that it was Jarno. I don't know. I don't know why, but I always switch those two during the race. He qualified in only 10th. I was also a little bit. I don't know. Maybe it's. I don't think it's not just. It's not just his. It's not just not his track, but yeah, maybe it didn't went that well. Um, but yeah. Well, we have just with Speedberry. I wouldn't say only in fourth, but well, that's the result. He was in first, and he won the last two races. So yeah, he got beaten the first time, but I think he will be one of the main competitors for the championship.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Well, at this level, any mistake is even as minor as it is. A there's a lot of drivers ready to take up the position and take advantage of the mistakes because the pack is quite close. Of course, we had a few breaks in between some groups, but that's just because of the circumstances of the race. Of course, people get involved in battles and lose time to the rivals, but overall, I would say everyone really close. So, by the way, we have Simon already
yeah.
in chat. Mako, do you wanna take it away?
So Simon, can you hear us? Can you talk?
Yes, I think so. I don't know.
Ah, there you are.
Okay.
So yeah, we had a very interesting race. We had a safety car right at the beginning because of a incident further down the back. I think you weren't involved, but yeah, how was your race?
I started P3, I think. Don't quote me on that, but I think yeah. And then something happened in the first straight. I went side by side with someone Upper Rouge, which is maybe not a good idea. But then I lost positions and ended up in P7 or so. And yeah, and then I had to climb my way back a bit and finish on the podium. It was quite cool. It was fun.
Yeah, you finished on the spot you were on the grid at the beginning. Um, so yeah, was a lot of movement in the rest of the field. Speedberry just got right behind you. Um, did you have any tactics in front of, or did you like need to do a completely new strategy for the race because of, for example, the safety car?
Yeah, I did a completely new strategy because obviously the safety car came out very early, and I had to make a decision whether to use mediums or so. Yeah, mediums or hards. I went for hards. Jano and Michael went for mediums. Speedberry didn't even pit at all, which was interesting. So obviously I was quite slow at the beginning on the hards, which was to be expected. But I figured that I should be catching up towards the end, which I did. But it wasn't enough. Um, the medium seemed to be maybe a bit of a better choice just because you can clear the traffic faster. But yeah, I mean, yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, and Speedberry was closing in obviously on his fresh mediums, but yeah, finish ahead.
Yeah, but yeah, it wasn't. I think he
Yeah.
even finished. He was on track. He was behind Infamous, and but Infamous has a 3-second penalty. That's the reason why
Ah,
he's
okay.
now fourth.
Okay, okay.
So you had a little gap to him.
Okay, yeah.
Well,
And
now moving to P2, Romanidis, that was an intense race, especially towards the end. Of course, it was always going to be tough without the DRS and the slipstream. Of course, it was always going to be tough to hold up Yarno. But yeah, what do you have to say about your race, Michael?
Yeah, it was quite intense. I was trying, especially the last two laps, I was trying to pull away to create a 6 or 7 tenths at least. When we got into the last lap, which I don't think I managed to do. I think it was around half a second. So obviously, the DRS helped massively, but I think I was slower today than Jano, especially through the middle sector, which I didn't expect. Usually, when you have dirty air on the middle sector, you lose at least 2 tenths, and Jano was pretty much on the same pace as me through there, so I knew I was slower. And yeah, I have to improve that for the future races. But congrats to Jano, of course, very good pace,
Thank you.
and yeah, it was a pretty nice start as well. I think that was my highlight of the race, probably going from fifth to second in the first sector.
Yeah, well, thank you for your words. Maku, what do you have to...
Yeah, Jaru, I said it before. We will see. I said before that I told the stream earlier on, I think before the race started, that we maybe will see this move that someone in second will overtake in the last or the in the 20th or no, in the 21st or 21st. I cannot
21st or
speak.
22nd, don't worry.
Genau, exactly. In the last laps for first place. And was this your strategy from the beginning, or did you plan something else?
Yeah, I was definitely saving tires for the whole race because I was a bit scared about the end. But in the end, it was really easy. I still had quite some tires left to be honest. So yeah, the second last lap, lap 21, I was thinking about it, but the gap was just slightly too big. So I decided to give it all on the last lap, and luckily made it work.
Yeah,
Well,
I was thinking you would do a little move there. The time just slightly, the gap just slightly closed in, but then you didn't. But yeah, great race, and congratulations to you all to
Thank
the
you.
podium.
Thank you.
yeah,
Thank you.
well, I guess this is it for today. Of course, we only have the next race next week, right, Maku?
Yeah, we will have the race next week, which should be Great Britain.
Okay, so we are going to the
Silverstone.
birthplace. Yeah, we're going to the birthplace of Formula One. We're going to Silverstone. Of course, classic track, always exciting racing over there, especially with such a talented field. And of course, going to be next week, right about the time that we started this broadcast. So unfortunately, our colleague that started the live stream wasn't able to finish it, so I had to step in a little bit out of thin air with 7 laps to go. Hopefully, still got smooth sailing in terms of the broadcast till the end. So yeah, this is it for today. Hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, give us a like button. If you did not, the dislike button is, as always, right beside it. Subscribe if you like to see more. Hit the bell icon for any notifications of whenever we are about to start a live stream or any videos for any videos that we might post. Hope to see you guys in 1 week's time. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.